many, many years. He's a neighbor. He just lives around the corner, just a little ways from me. And we're going to be talking about side hustle secrets. And so this is a class. One of the things you got to do is step number 6. You got to make more money. You got multiple streams of income. You do that with real estate. You do it with small businesses. You turn them into big businesses. Step 1 is to make more money. And you do that with your small business and your job. But 6, that's how we're going to create wealth. So Kurt, let's bring Kurt in. We're going to talk about side hustle secrets.
All right, Success and Money Foundation, followers, people, promoters, affiliate marketers. We're going to get into those side hustle secrets. Everything you need to know to run and to start a successful business, to grow that business. Of course, there's a lot of different areas. We've talked about mindset, to influence, to core competence, to your communication and presentation skills, all important. Today, we're going into the persuasion side. So take some good notes and think about, how can I apply this? How can I use this towards my business? Because these skills work. You need to start implementing them in every aspect of your life. So let's get into social validation, the art of that social pressure, that little push, that little nudge. Things can help you out. And this is human nature. 95% of people just follow what other people are doing. It's easier, it's faster. Does it work all the time? No, but it works most of the time to know what restaurant to go to, what movie to see, Amazon reviews. That's all social validation. We'll always believe somebody else before we believe you, and that's why we borrow this credibility with social validation. You've probably seen a line before when you got in. You didn't need to get in that line. That's just what you do. You go to a gathering, a party, not sure to act. Most people look around. It's about 5% of the population, 5 to 10% that'll do the opposite, mostly teenagers. But that's just how we're programmed. It's easier, it's faster. We're not sure what to do. We're not sure if we should trust you. We look to other people, that social validation, that social pressure. For example, if you're flying and hear a loud noise, a strange noise, you look around to see if anybody's panicking. You look to the flight attendants to see if they're panicking. I remember flying in to do a training over in Maui, right? Hard place to go to do a training, but there's a lot of trade winds in the afternoon, and even some locals come to see these planes coming in. They're all over the place. I don't know how new this flight attendant was, but we were landing. And we must have dropped, I don't know, felt 500 feet. I don't know what it was, but your stomach's, all right, going a little too high into your chest. And you're like, okay, this is not good. Anyway, the flight attendant screamed, went pale, sat down and buckled up and stood there shaking. Well, sat there shaking. And everyone started to panic from there. That's just how it was. I remember visiting my publisher in New York City. They're like, hey, you want to see a Broadway show? I'm like, sure. Oh, what do you want to see? I wasn't quite sure, and I saw this one that had won all the reviews everyone liked, right? Social validation, that's what I use. If everybody else likes it, I must like it. I went, and I'm not going to name names in it, pretty much stunk, really stunk. But I sat through, went through halftime, well, intermission, whatever it's called. It's got to get better, it got to get better. No, it got worse. But I sat there till the end. I could tell it was finishing up, like, woohoo, get to go home. And I saw these people walking down the aisles. I'm like, what are they doing? What's going on here? And they sat down in certain areas, and what happened when the play ended, they stood up and started applaud, right? Everybody around them started to applaud. And before I knew it, I was clapping, and I didn't even like this thing. That's that subtle nudge, that pressure of social validation. So a lot of social validation can change opinions and behaviors. The greater number of people that think it's right, it must be right. That's just how we're programmed. We can change our attitudes, our beliefs, our opinions about product, services, ideas, politics by just the sheer number of people that believe in it, or we think believe in it. That, well, the majority believe in it, whether they do or not. Who knows what the media is telling you, but that's social validation. We can change opinions and thoughts and behaviors if the majority of people are doing it. In fact, Professor Kurt Hansen at Stanford was looking at the websites, had like top 20 software downloads. And if it's number one, it must be good. And of course, it stayed number one. They took the last one and artificially inflated it to number one, even though it was the worst, and it stayed number one because if it's number one, it must be good. So how can you leverage yourself, your product, your service, what you're doing to get more people to think, yes, that's a social norm. That's what most people do. That's just how it is. And it varies from country to country, but we all follow this social pressure, this social norm. This is what most people do, especially when we're not sure how to act or if we should trust the person that we're talking to. The other one, the desire to belong. We want to belong. We want to be part of the group. We want to be part of the team. We want to just interact. We have such a hunger for that. That's very important that we want to belong. That's why we do social validation. We don't want to be the outcast. We want to make sure we have those social filters. And remember, many of these laws are unwritten. There's really no law that you shouldn't put your feet on somebody else's coffee table. Maybe it depends by country, right? But there's certain things, certain etiquettes and things that we just do normally. So that desire to belong is real, and we can leverage that when people are part of an inner circle, a community, they're making a difference. That can make a big difference with social validation. So a lot of social validation, we're changing opinions and behaviors. We have the desire to belong. We're social animals. Look at social media. We're driven by the likes and the people that don't like it. People that say nice things and people that don't. We're driven by this. We're social creatures. We're social animals. It's how we're wired, how most of us are wired or programmed. Some people don't care. Again, they're going to do the exact opposite. And again, it's very few percent of the population, but you can do them and ask them to do the opposite. Oh, you won't qualify for this, or you're not smart enough to do this. Well, you probably won't say that one, but that could be something with that social validation. So where do we see this? You see it everywhere. You see it when you go to a bookstore. You walk in, one of the first things you see, bestsellers. You go to Amazon, you see the bestsellers, you see the trending products, you see the most popular. You go to a restaurant, what's your most popular item? That's social validation. If it's the most popular, it must be good. And we can leverage that. We can use this in our persuasion and influence. Because if other people do it, other people are successful. Just like on infomercials, right? You've seen them on late night TV. They're on late night, A, because it's cheap, and B, because people's buying resistance is down. They're like, oh, wow, it cuts through a shoe. We need something like that. But infomercials have 80, 90% failure rate. When they fail, bring them back and you add social validation. Other people, normal people, people like you that said, hey, my kid were disobedient, I was broke, I was fat, right? But now I'm successful. That before and after picture can make a big difference. And so this is what we see, different types of ways you can leverage this as social validation. As I go through this list, think about which ones you can use. Is your product service idea best-selling? A trend? Locally, nationally, around the world? In high demand, you can't keep it in. Stock, there's not enough. There's one left in your size, right? Because it's so popular. The norm, it's just what people buy. When you're in this situation, this is what you buy. It's the best. Number one, you're in the top 10. You're the fastest growing. You are the most popular. Why does it work? It's fast. It's easy. Which one of those can you use? Maybe you can use a couple of them. Our brain tries to find the easiest path possible, and that's what it is. There's so many options, so many things to keep our brain on that we know it doesn't work 100% of the time. When you go to, I've been to 5-star restaurants, I'm like, wait a minute, this is not 5-star. All these reviews are so popular. I'm like, it wasn't that good. Is this all their uncles and aunts or something? That's part of the process to realize, all right, we look for this. And it's just easy. When other people do it, most of the time, usually it is the right thing to do. So here are some examples. Salting the tip jar. Have you heard that term before? Salting the tip jar? That's social validation. So you will see bartenders or those playing the piano or even those on the street begging for money. They won't just have an empty container asking for it. It's social. They'll put a couple bills in there. Maybe some $5, some $1 bills. No, other people have donated. If other people are doing it, you should. It increases tips. It increases the donations that you get. They do that to when they're passing the plate at churches. They do it with bartenders. Have you ever been on a tour? You're like, tips accepted. There's already things in there, and it's at the very beginning of the tour. You're like, wait a minute. They salt the tip jar. That's social validation. That's something you can use. Such a simple thing with the social validation to look around. Again, who else is using it? Who else is doing it? Make it the norm, make it the trend, make it being part of a group, part of a community. That's what people are looking for. Another interesting one, blood drive. What they found was that, people resist blood, time, needles. They asked people to donate blood. They saw how many would say yes, but when they show pictures, it's 38 pictures of different people giving blood in different stages, smiling, happy, they're doing it, right? 17% bump in those giving blood. Simple thing that you can do. Social validation could be a video, it could be an audio, it could be a testimonial. These are things you can add. Another example, New York City, 33rd West and 42nd Street. What happened? They put a camera up on the 6th floor and they just kept track of, if one person was looking up, not many people happened. When 2 people were looking up, 3 people, 6 people looking up, they were watching the people. People are trying to see what they're looking at. That's kind of a strange use of social validation, but the more people that were looking up, the more people would start looking up, right? There was nothing there, but more people kept looking up. Another example of social validation. Here's one. This was at political debates, right? A lot of tension sometimes in those audiences, but they noticed when they went to this is a local elections, when they could plant Confederates. Those are people that are in on the study to hoop and holler and to cheer more. The more they could plant, the more it swayed the public opinion of the people in that audience just by hearing that. That's why a lot of TV shows insert laughter, insert clapping. That, even though we know it's fake, it still increases our enjoyment and our ability to laugh at what is going on. Another interesting one, save the environment. The signs on the bed at the hotels, the sign that says something like, help save the environment, let's go green. Study was done using 2 different slogans. The first slogan was, help save the environment. And the second slogan added the social validation. It said, join your fellow guests and help saving the environment. That's what they put on there. Such a little thing, but now other people are doing it. 10% bump in those that were willing to do it. That's the power of social validation. Now, there could be a downside to this too. It's called diffusion responsibility or bystander apathy. Now, what diffusion responsibility is that if 10 people are carrying a couch, some people are slacking off versus 2 to 4. 2 people are carrying a couch, nobody can slack, right? That's why a lot of times when there's a car accident, nobody's called the police 911 because they think other people have done it. By the way, if you're ever in an accident and you should say, go, please call 911, you'd rather have 3 people call than no people call. Or someone sitting in the park looking in a bad way, but everyone else is walking around, it must be okay. That is all part of that diffusion responsibility. We act differently in crowds, we know that, but there is something about that bystander apathy that we got to be careful of, that when there are too many people that seem to be doing the wrong thing, might not be the right thing. In fact, they did a study with smoke called the smoke study. They put one college student in a room, they were taking a test, right? They pumped smoke underneath the door to see if they'd go get help. And 70% did. Yeah, I don't know about the other ones, they did nothing, but that's interesting. But as they put more and more people in the room, 3 or more, then things changed, right? They just changed. See, they were Confederates too. They were in on the study, and so the smoke was coming in, and they just sat there, took their test. So the more people they put in there, except for that one person they were testing, it dropped dramatically the people to get help because they're not doing anything, so it must be okay. So there can be a downside to this. Then the other term, if you need to know, is de-individuation. Remember, talking we act differently in crowds and groups. We lose our self-identity. We do act differently at sporting events, concerts. It's just how we're programmed. That's how we are. So you could use this to the plus side, to the negative side, depending on your product, your service, what you're doing. But basically, de-individuation is just the term to where you lose your individuality in these situations. You just follow the group, which could be a good thing for you or a bad thing for you. So in the United States, we have this thing called trick-or-treating. People go door-to-door asking for candy. They were doing some studies looking at one-on-one group. And what would happen is one person would come to the door, trick-or-treat. That's what they say. And this person said, oh, go ahead and take some treats. There was a bowl of candy on the outside. Just shut the door to see who would steal. These are kids. They tend to do things. They steal. So they looked individually the amount of theft. and it wasn't very high, but the bigger the group, and when they shut the door, more people would tend to steal. See, that's a negative side of this. So there's a positive and a negative, but when you could use this the right way and people want it, there's not enough to go around, everybody's doing it. I mean, we're talking about some persuasion buttons that'll make a big difference in making getting that yes much, much easier. Another aspect of this is increasing your credibility through social validation. You're borrowing credibility. Couple things. You want to increase your credibility is be prepared. You're ready to go to answer their questions, and you've done your research about them and their company. You look professional. That varies by situation, country, even industry. Getting a good introduction, someone else introducing you, recommending you, referral, giving recommendation, testimonial. Using credible facts and statistics. They know your qualification, that you're an expert at what you do. Maybe if you're your office professional, external surroundings, and using testimonials. You can borrow credibility. That's social validation. Other people believe in you, think in you, would do business with you, are doing business with you. Referral recommendation. They send an email, work with them. They're the best. Hey, I know someone that can solve your challenge. Here's their name and number. That's part of social validation. Other people saying, nope, they're the stuff. They're awesome. They're great. You need to do business with them. The best one everyone needs to be doing is testimonials. Now, with testimonials, you're always asking, no matter what, you're making it easy as possible, and you never have enough. So what I'm saying is you're always asking, even before, hey, when I exceed your expectations, will you give me a testimonial? I do business based on testimonials. So ask, always get ready. Make it easy, right? Take out your camera, write it for them, say, is this correct? They'll change a few things. Make it as easy as possible. Maybe record an audio. Those are different things that you can do. And you never have enough. You're always updating, changing, getting better ones, swapping out. You're never to the point where like, oh, I have enough. You're always asking for testimonials. Plus, when you ask for someone's testimony and they write it down or they give it to you via video, they're more solidified in sticking with you. It's another law of persuasion we'll talk about. But they're more obligated to stick with you because of all the nice things they have said. So some other aspects about testimonials that are very important. And you don't have to have all of these, but more of these, the better to really make your testimonial pop, the testimonial ingredients. If you can, some type of income or benefit claim. In 7 weeks, they earned this, they did this, they lost this. Testimonial, I am like you, meaning I'm a mom too, I'm a dad too, I'm overweight too, I was broke too, I'm a chiropractor too, I'm a teacher too, those type of things. Full name and photo, meaning the more information you can get, their full name, don't just say Bob, like full name if you can, photo if you can, where you're from, where they're from if you can, is all part of that. And that's something interesting too to think about is just the believability. A video is more credible than an audio, which is more credible than text, which is more credible. The text is more credible when you have that name information that this is a real person. Make sure it's believable, okay? And the credibility of the testimonial. Let's talk about those. Believable meaning you're always telling the truth, but some testimonials are so big that people who haven't done it before might not believe it. So always believable. And the credibility of the person too, meaning are they famous? Do people know them? Are they an influencer? Have they written a book? Remember, you write a book, people think you're smart. Have people know their name, that sort of thing. Now you can't always get all these. Sometimes you can get all of them, but the more you can get, the better for your testimonials. So how can we enhance your social validation? First of all, the larger the group, the better. Basically, the larger the group, the more the group grows, the more validation there is. When 1 million people, and the majority of them think this way, that's a little bit different than 5 people or 10 people. So the bigger the group, the industry, whatever you're leveraging here, that enhances your social validation and makes it better. When you say, well, I talked to 2 people, probably not enough, but if 1,000 people say, or on Amazon, if there's 5,000 5-star reviews, just the sheer number of that validation, people might not even look at the testimonials. They see there's 5,000 5-star reviews, done and done, that's all they need. That's a big piece. The other one, the greater the familiarity, meaning the more familiar and connected and they're similar to the group, the better. So the clearer the principle of social validation, the better. Again, is it a part of a trend used by the elite? Is it the industry standard? Who uses it? Do you have testimonials from other clients and users? So when the principles are clear, the principles of social validation, some of the questions that we just went over, and people are familiar, they can identify, these are my people, these are the ones that I love. It's just much easier to do that. When people can relate, I'm just like you, I have that problem too. Hey, Ryan. Those are things that you could do to really enhance this social validation. It's real. It's tapping into that subconscious mind. The more people do it, the better. That is social validation. So here's a case study just to think about. Adapt it to you. This works in any situation, any industry. You have to adapt it. But think about this case study. Put on your persuasion brain and say, okay, what would I do in this situation? I was consulting with a client and helping her make her web pages more persuasive. Everything was in order. It was a great offer and the site had the right look. She used the right colors and it provided a great solution to what people were looking for. It was just not pulling like she wanted. There was great traffic. The look was professional, but not enough sales. Using the law of social validation, what would you recommend? What would you recommend? What's your solution here? What's going on? Everything's in order. Great product, great offer. It was, of course, lack of testimonials. The other people saying, yes, it worked for me. Remember, people always believe and trust other people before they believe you. You have something to gain in your business, okay? You have something to gain in a sale. That's part of the process. And so you have to go out there, and that's what we did. This doubled her sales, just adding a few testimonials of people that had the same problem. This is what they did. I can't emphasize the power of testimonials and using them. Start collecting them. Ask people for them. You'll be surprised how willing they are to say yes and to do it. Again, make it as easy as possible because they're going to think they're going to do it and life's busy. So try to get it right then and there if you can, or write it for them. This is my experience. Is this true? Show it to them and they'll change a few words. But that was the key. Other people, whether it be infomercials, your website, your brochure, whatever you're doing, other people that can endorse you, recommend you, give you a testimonial, give you a referral. We all know that's easy business, that's easy persuasion. So let's talk about some homework. It's all about increasing your validation, the social validation, that social pressure this week. So which one of these can you start applying? Is it best selling, a trend, in high demand, the norm, number one, top 10, fastest growing? So that's your homework. Take ownership. What thing can you implement this week to add a little more something, social validation, somebody else saying, yes, they're great. That's how it is. Getting an introduction is a powerful thing. I learned that the hard way as a professional speaker. I get in front of a group of a couple hundred people, and if I start off and say, my name is Kurt Mortensen, I'm a best-selling author, these are my 3 books, are in 28 languages, I've done this in 30 countries, and just rattle off the list. And they're like, kind of arrogant, because I want credibility. So then I'm not going to do that anymore. Now that I don't say anything, they're like, who is this person? Makes no sense, right? Like, what do you do here? Because you want credibility, but if you do it yourself, sometimes it is never as good as somebody else saying it, that is for sure. So what's the solution for me? I just type it out in an introduction, hand it to somebody else, they read it, now it's okay. That's how the world works. That's how social validation works. So choose the one that you could implement this week. Figure out how you can get some more testimonials to amplify this persuasion law, this tool of social validation. Look around you, take notes, become a student of persuasion, see other people that are doing it, that are using it, that are leveraging it, and do the same thing with your product, service, your idea, your business, what you're working on right now. So success and money, people, do your homework, okay? Go through with social validation, especially if you're working on the affiliate program, the tools we gave you last week. That's all social validation, other people saying it, other people doing it. There's plenty of social validation on the site. You can use yourself as social validation, how it's changed your life. Open your mouth, share the world. When you look at your side hustle, your business, right? When you're looking at that, how can you use more social validation? If you're doing something even in your neighborhood. Yeah, I've been working with that family and that family. Oh, okay, let's do it. Okay. Son and daughter sell pest control, right? They say, well, we're working with them, we're working with that neighbor, we're working with that neighbor. And a lot of times that's all they need is leveraging that social validation. So share the message, do your homework, get other people enrolled in the successofmoneyfoundation.org, make a difference, change the world, make it a better place, and go out and make it happen.